Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. I'm your host, Rick the Barkeep, bringing you episode 162 here at the Tavern, presented by HeroTaku.com. Now, a couple of episodes ago, we went and talked about how, as pretty much a business model, Saban, and by extension Power Rangers, excises and whitewashes anything Japanese in the series to, well, nothing really. And one of the episodes in which that is most prevalent is the Down Thunder episode, Lost and Found in Translation. And back in that previous episode, I pointed out how it basically mocks Japanese culture because it does make it apparent that the American audience, and this is put in the context of our three Dino Thunder Rangers, is basically mocking Japan, saying that what they have is not as superior, that the monster looks fake, that it's all weird and stupid. And again, they're mocking the show, and it's supposed to be like a tongue-in-cheek on both fan bases of American and Japanese, but it really comes down critically on the Japanese point of view. Now, one of the problems that leads to that, I think, is how the episode is dubbed. How they actually take episode 10 of Abba Ranger and dub it into the Lost and Found in Translation episode. Now, you're going to have to go watch both episodes to really get a full understanding of what I'm talking about. So I recommend that you guys go ahead and do that. You can do it now, or you can wait till the end of the video. I'm just going to bring up one example of what I mean by this. So in the Abba Ranger episode, what we have is at the beginning of the episode, the Blue Ranger opens a newspaper and he's reading about Bucky Barnes. I keep wanting to call him Bucky Barnes, but of course I just saw Civil War a couple weeks ago, so it's still fresh in my mind. But anyway, Mr. Barnes has gone missing. The headline is he's missing from the season opener. So what it's doing at the beginning of the episode is setting up that there is a character who has disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and of course he's going to factor in later to the plot of this episode. Now compare that to the dubbed version over in Power Rangers Dino Thunder, where the character has been renamed Whacker Wilson. I don't know why. And the Blue Ranger, instead of the plot being, oh, this guy is missing for whatever reason, oh, that greedy American baseball player is coming to Japan. That's how they start the episode off. So basically what we've done is we've taken somebody who's got a legitimate actual name based on a real baseball player with a actual mystery to be set up in the first 5 seconds of the episode, replaced with a goofy, stupid name that nobody actually has, and then we have to categorize our American character as a greedy American baseball player, and of course there's no mystery, there's no intrigue. And that's where I really have the problem with this episode, is that instead of just doing a one-for-one translation of the episode and setting up this mystery and calling him Mr. Bonds or whatever and all that, they had to make up a stupid name for whatever reason and call him a greedy American baseball player for no reason at all. And there are other changes that they make, but they're too nuanced to really get into here. But what I'm actually getting at here is the age-old argument of dubbed versus subbed. And I'm going to throw my 2 cents in on that particular topic and tell you guys what I think. But Power Rangers has already made the problem worse because of this Dino Thunder episode, because they do all the things that piss me off about dubs that make me want to like subs, but still yearn for something good in the dubs. Okay, so for those of you who've been paying attention, I'm not a big anime fan. I really don't care about anime. If you like it, great, whatever. It's just not my thing. I watched Voltron cartoons, and they were okay. Didn't really have a problem with them. I like to think that the only anime I actually enjoyed was the Ronin Warriors, or the Super Samurai Troopers, as they're known in Japan. But I haven't seen that series in years, and I have downloaded it, and I haven't had a chance to actually watch it as of yet. But of course, when I was really young, the first anime I think I've ever saw, the one that always sticks in my mind, is Speed Racer. Now, decades later, after Speed Racer first came on American television, what is the thing that everybody really remembers about that show? It's not the Mach 5, it's not the little monkey sidekick, it's not Racer X. It is the way in which our characters talked in the episode. Now I'm going to try and simulate that for those of you who have not seen it or it's been years since you have seen it. So I do apologize if I come off poorly here, but I'm going to give you a rough approximation of what these characters sounded like in this anime series that was eventually imported to America. Speed, you cannot race in the race because the race is dangerous, and the race is very dangerous. That means you cannot race. But father, I must race because racing is in my blood, and in my blood I must be racing because the race is racing. Okay, I went off a little there, but you guys get the point. That is basically the interpretation that we have of Speed Racer now, because that is pretty much how it was presented then. And that's put a lot of people off to the concept of dubs because they do stupid crap like that, just like they did in Lost and Found in Translation. They took a serious story here in Lost and Found Translation and made it goofier and more cynical, and well, not cynical, I guess, but they took jabs at the American audience for no good reason. And I feel it's the same way about the Speed Racer cartoon. Now, I never saw the original Japanese version. I've never heard it before, but I'm betting. I'm going to be a betting man and basically say that's not how the original was. And that's what really kind of pisses me off about dubs in general, is that they take what is a straightforward, serious subject and topic, and then they gotta make it goofy for whatever reason. Another example of this, and actually, this is another anime I heard of, but I never watched when it was on, but the Samurai Pizza Cats. Now, for those of you who don't follow anything that Bob Chipman does, I would definitely go ahead and take a look at the Found in Translation episode he does of the Big Picture, where he actually talks about the translation of the Samurai Pizza Cats into the American, television show. He does a better job of explaining it than I do, but basically the overall point of it was that in Japan it was a serious television show, or it took itself seriously, it was pretty straightforward. But in the American Samurai Pizza Cats, it became a comedy full of puns and jokes and all that. Now, that was pretty much due to translation issues and not having full scripts or notes from the Japanese team, or again, go watch Bob Chipman, listen to what he has to go ahead and say about the matter. But for some reason, Saban, yes, it's Saban that did this, decided to take a straightforward and, took itself seriously television show and decided to make it goofy. They decided to make it a comedy and everything. And I don't get that. Why is it that when a show is dubbed, particularly in anime, they have to take a serious topic or a serious show and have to go ahead and turn it into a joke? That they have to make it into a comedy. Now, you can argue, which a lot of people do, is like it's meant for children, so you have to dumb it down, make it into a comedy or whatever. But then I argue, what it was already meant for children in Japan and they liked it just the way it is, why do you have to make it more comical for an American audience? And yes, there are going to be differences between the two, but there isn't a world of difference that says you can't have a serious cartoon for them to go ahead and enjoy. I mean, think of it this way. Think if they took episodes of Batman the Animated Series. Okay, let's see, His Silicon Soul. That's a really powerful, really good episode of Batman the Animated Series. Basically one of my favorites. Now, if you haven't seen the episode, and spoilers, I guess, it's basically that there's a robot out there who believes that he is Batman, that he is truly Bruce Wayne. And the episode's basically about this robot coming to grips with his self-identity, and eventually ends with him trying to kill Batman and try to kill the rest of humanity. And of course, within the episode, it asks the question about, a soul and all that. It's very simple, but that's basically what the episode is about. Now, let's say that Toei or some other company decides, hey, we're going to take Batman the Animated Series, we're going to translate it into Japanese, we're going to do voiceovers and dubs into Japanese for our Japanese audience and see if they go ahead and enjoy the show. And then they take His Silicon Soul, and instead of the powerful line at the end where, the Batman robot basically says, no, I've taken a life. No! That's basically, his line and all that. And they change it to something weird and stupid. Oh no, he fell and I can't find him. I can't find him! Because that's another thing in dubs, is like you can't reference death. Because even though the helicopter is going down in flames and everything, oh no, they're fine, I see their parachutes. It's other crap like that I'm talking about. That you take something that's serious, but then you have to undercut the seriousness by either making jokes in it, putting dialogue that doesn't belong in there, or trying to make light of the situation. Like, again, oh no, I see their parachutes, which I believe was from Dragon Ball Z, but don't quote me on that. Um, and that's why a lot of people don't particularly like the dubs, is because, all the goofiness and stupidity that's involved with them. Now, conversely, the thing about subs is you have to read. That seems to be a problem for people. Oh no, I don't want to watch this because I'll have to read what's going on. And tell you, that's a bullshit argument. I'm really pissed off about that kind of stuff, because this is why we can't have nice things, people. Is because of stupid people who are just not willing to do the slightest bit of work to enjoy these things. Okay, so people do not accept Japanese movies unless they are dubbed because they don't want to do the reading. Okay, if we run with that premise, then we still end up with dubs, but then we end up with stupid dubs and things that don't make any sense. I think Godzilla 1985, I believe that's the right year, is a good example of that as well, where they basically took a movie that was completely Japanese, live action, and then they put the American crew and the Dr. Pepper references and all that, and they actually put the Japanese people and put goofy dialogue into their mouths, which is what they were not saying, and thus people took the Godzilla of 1985 less seriously because they decided to lighten it up and not do a direct one-for-one translation. When all they could have done is they could have taken the movie and subtitled it, and it would have been fine and people probably would have liked it more. But oh no, we have to read, something we do every day. I didn't come to the movies to read. But again, that leads us into these dub practices where they do these stupid things. And I know what this is stemming from primarily is I've been reading a lot about the Kaku Ranger DVD set on how the subtitles are having problems. That when Zoo Ranger came out, there were a couple of issues here and there, but overall good. Die Ranger, nobody's found any major problems with that. But with Kaku Ranger, there are a number of issues. Now, I haven't had a chance to actually watch the Kaku Ranger DVD set yet, even though I have it. But the consensus seems to be that there are some problems with the subs in a couple of the episodes, and I'm going to have to take their word for it at this time until I get a chance to go ahead and see it. But, and again, that's where the problem is stemming from, and of course it's, bringing up the debate of dubs versus subs. And, Japan has a very interesting way of doing it. And yes, I know I do all this stuff about how Japan is awesome, but Japan is awesome. It just is. But here's the thing. So, like I said a few minutes ago, I actually went to go see Captain America Civil War. They were showing it in the movie theater a couple towns over, so I went to go ahead and see it. Believe it or not, I actually had two options of how to view this movie. I could either go see the movie that was dubbed in Japanese, or I could go see the movie in English with Japanese subtitles. Now, isn't that a novel concept? To actually give people a choice on what they want to go ahead and see. And I think that's something that is eluding us in American culture, is that it's got to be one way or the other, that we can't have both. It's either got to be dubbed or it's got to be subbed. And I fall within the camp that I think subbed is the better way to go. But the reason that I believe subbed is the better way to go is because dubbed is crap. I have never seen a Japanese or an American dub of a Japanese show that I thought was good, that was a one-for-one translation, that kept the source material the way it was. Now, I'm sure there are probably some other animes out there that are more obscure, that were on Adult Swim at 3 in the morning, that I haven't seen, that are perfectly fine. But when the majority of the dubs I've seen growing up and through my lifetime, Talk Light Speed Racer, or that Inuyasha parody that they did on Robot Chicken. I also lift my leg to beat, although you wouldn't think so. Again, when it's like that, and that's what I'm hearing, that turns me off to dubs altogether, because they're not taking it seriously. They're not doing their job properly. They're making fun of the material. And because they're making fun of the material, it makes me care less about it. If you're not going to take it seriously, then why should I take it seriously? At least in the term of subtitles, you can listen to the language even if you don't understand what they are saying, and you can understand by their voice how they're saying it, the context of whether they're joking, whether they're being serious, or anything like that. In dubs, you really don't get that because they play up everything as a joke. But in subs, you have the ability to listen to what they're saying, but also read what they're saying. And then you're like, okay, so he's saying stop it, but he's doing it in a comical tone. So, I understand the context of the conversation. Because, have you ever actually tried to watch a television show that's subbed with the volume off? It's actually a lot more difficult than you would think. Which heck, that's exactly what deaf people have to go through. So, a little bit of understanding in that context. Now, are subs perfect? No. Dubs are especially not perfect. But I can't help but ask, why can't we get both? Why can't we do it subbed and have a dub, but have the dub be serious? Why can't we do that? Why can't we go ahead and take the original Speed Racer cartoon and do a serious dub based on the original material? Why can't we go ahead and get the Samurai Pizza Cats in its original language, or excuse me, original language with subtitles, or be dubbed as a straight translation? Because what was the bad guy's name in Samurai Pizza Cats? What was it? The Big Cheese? I will bet $1,000 that was not his name in the Japanese version. And even if it was, again, context matters. And I would think if you're doing, even if the show was serious and the villain's name was the Big Cheese in Japan, if you're going to do it in America and make it serious, why don't you just tweak it and make it more serious? Again, it's just the whole point of taking something that was perfectly fine, dumbing it down, and making it stupid so we can mock it. And the whole Bucky Barnes and Whacker Wilson thing that I pointed out at the beginning of the episode, I suspect that was only put in the episode so that we can make fun of it, or so that we can look on both sides. Because if we were to watch a Sentai show that was actually serious, oh my goodness, people would lose their minds. A serious television show from Japan and the dubbing is actually good? Heck, there were little moments like, I make curry just like mom used to make, which was not at all what she said in the Japanese version, but they decide to add that in there. For what reason? I don't understand the additions and subtractions that they make in the dubs when it can't be, again, word for word what they're saying. It just infuriates me. Why is that? Please, I want to answer for that. Why can't they just make it exactly what they're saying? Why do they have to change everything? And if you talk about the censor stuff like the parachutes, okay, whatever. But censorship aside, there's no reason why they can't have it exactly what they said. I mean, how would you feel if you went and said something and then somebody translated to another language to take whatever you're saying, even if it's a serious conversation, and turn it into a joke and misrepresent what you're saying? Could you imagine how something like that would play out at the United Nations if Obama got up there and said something and the Japanese translator basically turned everything Obama said into a joke, and he's talking about what happened in Orlando, somber and crying, but then the Japanese ambassador is laughing his head off because, oh, these dubs are hilarious. Obama's making so many jokes. Ha ha. I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying, is that they're purposefully doing this for no rhyme and reason on something that is typically dramatic content. And I should also point out that they did pick a pretty dumb episode of Abba Ranger to bring into the Dino Thunder episode, because again, the whole purpose is to make fun of it, as opposed to actually respecting it and having something serious in there. But I'd like to think I made my point with you guys. But here's my ultimate thing. I'm going to go with subs. I'm going to say subs are better than dubs. But that's only because, in my experience, dubs have been stupid. Now, if we can change the culture of how things are being dubbed, then I will completely change my opinion. If they can come out with, let's say they come out with a Car Ranger on DVD and they have it completely dubbed, And it's a straight one-for-one translation. That's exactly what he said. That was the purpose of what he's saying in the proper context. Which I know it's a comedy show, but still, if they can do that, then I will completely change my opinion, and I'll be in the camp firmly for dubs. But until they take it seriously, I'm going to have to stay in the camp for subs because subs take it seriously. They really do because their only job is to translate exactly what they're saying, not add anything, don't take anything away, put exactly what they set up onto the screen, and I don't know why dubs can't do that. Why is it we have to make everything a joke? That's why people don't respect the Japanese culture and Japanese anime in general, because they look at the dubs, they listen to the Speed Racers, they listen to the Samurai Pizza Cats, they listen to all that crap, and they're like, oh, this is how it is. They're all goofy. It's a joke. It's not to be taken seriously. Therefore, I'm not going to take it seriously. That to me has got to be the mindset, and that's one of the things again that has turned me off from anime because they all take it as a joke, and I'm just not interested in watching things that is a joke like that. Even as a kid, yeah, I like the Jetsons and the Flintstones and other cartoons that were comedies, but when you gotta there's just a difference between what is intended and what is not intended, and they added later to add levity or just whatever. I just get the feeling that most of the time people with dubs just don't take their job seriously. I could be wrong, but again, that's just how I kind of feel about it. So, again, I'm into subs, not into dubs. Can we fix dubs? What do you guys think about that? Where do you fall on? Are you a dub person? Are you a sub person? And do you think we can fix dubs in the future? I mean, is that something that's going on in anime now that I'm not aware of? And if that's the case, hey, let me know. I'm not going to watch any anime, but I want to see a dub of Sentai. I really do. I think it would be interesting because you guys do realize that they actually took Power Rangers SPD and dubbed it into Japanese using the original actors from Deco Ranger, right? Wouldn't it be great if we took Zoo Ranger and dubbed it with Austin St. John and Walter Jones and David Yost and all those guys for Zoo Ranger? So basically, Dan is voiced by Billy. I mean, wouldn't that be a novel concept? And they actually didn't do it tongue in cheek. They did it completely serious. I guess that's the ultimate thesis, is that they don't take things seriously, and I do prefer things that are serious. Not that I don't enjoy things that are entertaining and humorous. It's just that you just can't mess with that kind of stuff because it turns people off. It has turned me off. You have one less anime viewer because of the crap that you've pulled in the past, and hopefully that is changing. So, let's see where that goes. I want to know what you guys think about that. Leave a comment below. Let me know. Otherwise, thank you guys for listening. Have a good evening. The tavern is now closed.